good morning, everybody. It's Ron Howard, your old pal from Extreme Sequences, bringing you a tutorial on xLights 20.21.29. That's right, .29 is out. And I know people out there bragging, oh, Ron didn't see xLights 2021.29 because he's sleeping. Folks, there are more important things in life than an xLights release. Okay, well, not this one. This one's actually more important than sleep, I think. I think you're really going to enjoy this. There's a lot to cover, so let's just get started. And right away, big shout out and thanks to the development team for creating a wonderful release. There's some really cool stuff here, and then maybe one or two things I don't quite understand, but I'm gonna show you what it is that it does, and then I'll talk about why I don't quite understand why it might do something a certain way. But then I know the developers will look at that and go, yeah, maybe he has a point, or no, he's a moron, he can't figure it out, and I'll make a tutorial for Ron, and then he can make another tutorial and share how he was wrong. No, that's probably not gonna happen. Probably not going to happen, but let's get into this. The first thing I want to cover, and I'm going to kind of go down the order of these releases, or these bug fixes or enhancements. This is mostly about enhancements, but there is one bug fix that was really, really cool, and I'll tell you the story about it, and I'll illustrate what it did, what we did to troubleshoot it, and how it's been resolved. And there's some key people that I'll mention in a moment about that. But first, we're going to talk about this enhanced Twinkle effects to use different placement algorithm if buffer is very sparse. Yeah, okay. Well, there's a couple things with this. Twinkles has gone through some different iterations over the years. Now we have the new render style that's been out for a while. Dan Culp has changed this to be adequately and appropriately percentage of lights, not number of lights. How does xLights know how many number of lights you have in your show? Well, I guess it does, but that doesn't matter. It's about percentages. And so this is a little bit more cleaner than it might have been before. But some things to pay attention to here if you are in 3D. And that is going to be the render style. See how this is set on default, right? And if we turn this, there are times this might not look quite right. Look what's going on here. What is my, oh, that's not good. What's going on here? You see what's going on? Let me bring this up a little bit. Why is that straight line on there? That's not good. Well, that's the icicles facing east and west, and they just don't look good at default. So what you can do is just change this to overlay center. That might help it out quite a bit, but then it goes berserk like crazy. Now I got to bring this way back, and that's okay. Or you can change it to vertical. That's not so bad. So if you choose a different render style, you will get a lot more out of your props if you're in 3D and they're facing certain ways on your home. I know people have talked about using the views. I have a ton of views. I've got top, sideways, upside down, inverted, extrovert. I got all the views you can imagine. Doesn't do anything to fix the icicle problem. Okay, it just doesn't. If I scroll on down here to my icicles, where'd they go? Where'd they go? There we go. You can see all the individual icicles. I can put models on the icicle group. And again, depending on how you set your render style, they will either work or they will not. And sometimes you just have to use a different render style. This is certainly true with native files, like the Grand Illusion. Notice the Grand Illusion that's on its side here. If you have a 3D layout with the Grand Illusion on its side, chances are it's going to look like poo-poo, depending on the effects you use. Let's go down here to the Grand Illusion. Boom, 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 boom. Keep going, Ron, keep going. You only have 100,000 models. Okay, so this looks pretty good. This is what I would use for a front-facing Grand Illusion. That looks fine, and I'm using per model per preview, because if I use the good old standard overlay center, well, that looks kind of wompy, doesn't it? Yet that looks better on this, but that's not the effect I want. It's a native file. So I'd normally use this. But that's just no bueno. So what am I forced to do? I don't know. I can go through here through all these. Nope, that doesn't look good. None of these are going to look good. None of them. They're not going to look right at all. So what do you do? Well, until there's a better workaround, and again, it depends on the effect chosen. They're not equal in the way they execute. They never have been, probably never will. So here is my suggestion to you. If you take this model and you fan it out just a bit, scroll in here, make this easy. Oop, let's change it to, get in there. Click in the center, click again. There we go. I had it right the first time. If you just angle it a bit, and sometimes you have to put it on its side, let's just angle it that much. Or let's just be a little more. Let's try that. Let's see what this looks like. We'll go back over here. We'll click on this. Oh, well, there we go. Now they're working like they should. So if you have props on the side of your house and they're not looking good, fan them out about 30 degrees and that problem will go away. If you're in the 2D world, ignore all this. It doesn't matter because it only faces forward. Okay, let's get back to this lovely list of cool things. Oh, and by the way, you probably did see the model here, the XLS arms. Some models don't have the same issue, although I'm seeing an issue here. Let's hit a quick render here. Oh, that's only because we're seeing it from the side. So watch what happens when I turn this. There we go. That's handling just fine. And this is facing right at us. So the custom models don't have the same exact issue as the native, but don't, take that with a grain of salt. Let's just, for kicks and giggles, let's just make sure. Let's just go to our flake group here. Yep, that looks good. Let's go to a different model. Yep, that looks good. And again, this is a custom model. They just seem to do better on east and west facing if your home is facing north or south. They just do better in 3D on the left and right, whereas models like the Grand Illusion and Mother of All Wreaths seem to have more of a challenge in that rendering. All right, let's get out of here. I promise we get back to this. Better star model. Oh man, how cool is this? Couple things. I'm just going to show you what this looks like. The tree topper here, I know from my eyes, this model looks a lot cleaner than it ever has. This is something that Dan had worked on. He also worked on the Twinkles. This is really cool. It is so much cleaner. And on top of that, I don't know about you, but my model here actually has a pretty big hole in the center where it has all the mounting. Whether it's Boscoil or Gilbert Engineering, typically there's a little more space in here than we've ever had the ability to make. And that is now possible because Dan has added a nice little section here in the model that gives us an inner layer ratio, inner layer percentage. So now we can bump that way up, make that hole big, or put it back to about the size you think it might be for yours, which mine is about like that. So kudos to Dan for making a star improvement in our shows. All right, let's go on. Dan has also made shaders on background. This is an option. I'm telling you, this is what had me super excited earlier today. I was testing Tsunami to see what it would do. So in the file preferences section, there is a brand new button in the other tab. And by default, it is turned off. But if you turn this on and then you render your sequence, it's about 50% faster on Tsunami with this turned on than with it turned off. Tsunami rendered in 99 seconds with it on, and it was about 188 seconds with it off. So, and you know, Dan Culp is sort of he's a Mac guy, but I have a feeling he's got a I don't want to say a passion for Windows, but I think he understands it enough. And he's the first person to figure out how to use Windows to make better use of rendering the shaders. That's huge. I can't tell you how big this is. For people that have systems that, you know, they didn't go out and spend $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 dollars on a computer, I'm hoping this makes a huge difference for their computer systems when they're mapping and rendering and trying to get the show put together. So I really like that. While we're here, ignore vendor model recommendations. Hey, that's my recommendation. Ignore vendor model recommendations. I don't even know what that does. I haven't seen anything, so I'll ignore it. Also, purge download cache at startup. That should be selected, and the rest of these should be selected too. That's probably a good idea. All right, stay away from this guy up here, unless you know what you're doing. Okay, when you click OK, this is going to take a moment. If you have a sequence open and you do that, remember you're playing with fate. So there's a good chance it could hang up and take forever. You may end up having to kill xLights. So just keep that in mind. Fix universal naming convention. Yeah, for media. That was something Dan fixed. So there was a character missing in the media where you might store all of your files. So typically that's going to be in preferences, and you can tell the media where it should go. That's in the sequences. You'll see right over, where's my media use show folder, media right here where it saves. I guess there was a character missing and he's fixed that. So thank you, Dan, for that. Moving on, fix Windows crashes from shaders. So Kevin has fixed some of the crashes we might have been seeing in Windows. I haven't seen too many, but thank you, Kevin, for doing that. Keith has fixed the upload errors to Falcon F4 series. Well, I haven't seen the errors because I don't have a Falcon V4 just yet. And I just hope we don't see the same errors in Falcon that we see in xLights with all these different changes. The V4 series can do a lot. And when you can do a lot like you can in xLights, there might be a lot more issues. And I'm really hoping that's not the case, but I won't know until I get my hands on one to play with it. And the last one here, Keith, add drop hint validator to icicles and polyline. So this was a very interesting one here. And a shout out to a couple people. Lauren for having the issue. And Steve Rapaldi and myself, and that was Lauren Counter, by the way, who also makes some really great tutorials. Steve Rapaldi and I were doing a little help session with Lauren, and he had these icicles that were just acting so funky. And literally, we spent probably an hour troubleshooting, and this was live troubleshooting, you know, through Zoom. Zoom had a video camera, and we could see what he was doing, and he had icicles turning on in the background, but they weren't turning on correctly. And we're like, well, you got another controller, or have you switched the power supply? Are you sure it's coming out of port 1? All of that. And it was really fun. And it dawned on me, I finally saw the issue. And I just started laughing. I'm like, I see it, I see it. They were frustrated, like, what? And what had happened was, in this 1-8-1 drop pattern, Lauren had accidentally entered a period here. And it looked just like this, 1,8.1. Well, that freaked out the icicle. So in test mode, the icicle turned on fine, but from xLights, playing back effects or a sequence, it was just all jacked up. So now, if you try to put that period in there and we click in another field, it says, no, 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 you can't do it. You can't do it. So thanks to Steve for putting that error bug submission in xLights that has been fixed, and fixed very quickly. So I'm sure I have done that in the past. I'm sure others will have, had that not been changed. All right, folks, that's it. Ton of groovy, great stuff. Let me know if you have any questions. We'll chat soon. See ya.